morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Nick, and I'm from Peru. I grew up in a city in the Andes, South Peru. The city is known as the White City because the whole city, especially the downtown historic area, is made of white volcanic rocks. Yeah, white volcanic rocks. Because the city is surrounded by volcanoes, the weather is really nice. It's usually about 75, 300 days of sun a year. It's really a beautiful place. For being on the Andes, it's not cold, but that's good. The house that I grew up when I was a kid was made of this white volcanic rock. We call it sillar. The walls were about this wide, tall ceilings, and about 3 courtyards. What I liked when I was a kid is I had this tricycle, and I moved through the courtyard. It was my route, my biking route, but for a 4-year-old kid. The house was full of chickens, rabbits, turkeys. We had dogs and cats as well. But one of the first memories I have from childhood is me riding in my tricycle, one chicken in one arm, and just driving, pedaling around the house, thinking I'm going at the speed of light. But this was my favorite chicken. Every morning I would grab the chicken, go for my morning routine, and then put it back on the coop. The chicken will promptly give me an egg. I will run to mom and eat breakfast. So one day, I go through my whole thing, and the chicken doesn't give me an egg. So I'm all upset. I'm like, you traitor. So I look at the window, and I know what any 4-year-old will do. I grab the chicken, and I go, you are vanished from my house. Fortunately for the chicken, and unfortunately for me, the neighbor saw the whole thing happening. So he knocked on the door and returned the chicken to the family. Busted. I look back on those stories and I think how different it can be, my childhood versus what I see now. That seems to belong in a Disney movie or a cartoon about this poor farm kid just going around the Andes. But we live downtown. This was a 1.5 million city and we were in the heart of it. Yet, I had chickens in my house, guinea pigs running on the ground. My father is a lawyer. My mom is an accountant. My mom retired the day that I was born. Back in the 80s or 90s, things were not so great in Peru. Terrorism was spiking. The drug lords of Colombia and Mexico decided to do all their plantations in Peru. So things weren't so awesome. Plus, Alan Garcia was our president. Alan Garcia actually just passed 2 months away. He killed himself because he didn't want to go to prison for corruption charges. He was just recently brought to justice. During his government, inflation, I would say hyperinflation in Peru went up 2,000%. So it was rough. Money didn't mean anything. You had paper, it wasn't valued. So in order to stabilize the situation, they decided to do a currency exchange and introduce a new coin. The conversion rate, 1 million to 1. Guess who was in the middle of selling a house at that point?
Oh, no.
My parents. So they signed the papers, they got the money deposited to the bank, the government announced the currency conversion. The end of the story on that, my parents had enough to buy a case of beer. So what they did, they bought the case of beer. They sat, they drank their beer, and they moved in with grandma. And that is the house that I grew up in. This old colonial house made of sillar that was grandma's house. It's full of animals, full of plants, with a majestic view of Misti. Misti is this volcano, the main one in the city that is the protector, but it's also an active volcano. It's a constant reminder that one day we'll just wipe out the city. When I was a teenager, probably 15, 16, likely 16, I was fascinated with climbing Misti. But of course I wasn't training to climb or do anything to prepare for it. It was more of a dream than a goal. But one day this group of park rangers, they were organizing an expedition to go up to Misti. And I should say that Misti is about 19,000 feet tall on the peak. So it's a pretty big hike. So I was excited. Recruited a friend. I was like, let's go. We're climbing Misti. We thought we were veterans. we didn't realize that there is a cost to that, and that it's only adults. It's adults-only expedition. But that didn't stop us. We faked some papers. We bought some boots, borrowed a tent, borrowed camping gear. It's like we were ready. So we showed up at the meeting point the day of the expedition, and our plan was to just follow the crew. We'll just follow the people up the mountain and camp nearby, and everything should be fine. The first part worked out just by showing up at the place. They thought that we were part of the crew. Nobody checked, so we went along our merry way. We tried to keep our distance to the expedition, just not to get busted on the way up. So we got lost the first day of climbing Misty, but we made it 2 hours later to the camp. It was dark, we were tired, but we made it. And again, nobody checked. Welcome in, come on into the campground. So the trip to Misty consists of about 10 hours walk the first day. You camp, you wake up really early, about 2 a.m. in the morning, and then you finish the ascent. It's about 6 hours more after that. You are trying to beat the sun, because the sun will start melting the ice, makes things hazardous and not great. So that night is when we realized how ill-prepared we were. It was really, really cold. I was wearing a hat like this one. This hat is warm and super cool, but it's not really warm or insulated. There is a reason why there is a special camping gear or climbing gear. Long story short, we made it to the top with mild frozen bites and purple lips, but it was one of the proudest moments of my life. Took a lot of courage to go, not to sleep in the middle of the mountain when you are tired. But now I look back and I think it's like, how stupid I was to do such a thing. Still, I wouldn't change a thing. Like my wife says, whoever dies with the best stories win. And that's why I stick it. Thank you.